Chapter 4: Variables and Identification of Variables in Research. Introduction. We have seen in previous study notes that research is the systematic and empirical study of relationships among variables. A variable is something that can be changed, such as characteristic or value. Variables are generally used in psychological studies to determine if changes to one variable result in changes to another variable. The variables can be measured in a quantitative form or in a qualitative form. For example, you may want to describe some characteristics of a person in quantitative form, such as his or her age, height, weight, etc. You might also need to characterize some other characteristics of this person in qualitative forms, like the color of the eyes, the sex, the nationality, etc. Objective. At the completion of this lecture, students will be able to state the characteristics of variables. Students will be able to state the different types of variables. Students will know the differences that exist between these variables. Content. All research projects are based around variables. A variable is any construct or concept that has been identified as capable of taking two or more values. Variable is a characteristic or attribute of an individual, group, educational system, or the environment that is of interest in a research study. Variables can be straightforward and easy to measure, such as gender, age, or course of study. Other variables are more complex, such as socioeconomic status, academic achievement, or attitude toward school. Variables may also include an aspect of the educational system, such as a specific teaching method or counseling program. Types of variables. There are two major types of variables that are important in any research: independent and dependent variables. The variable that an experimenter manipulates in a study is called independent variable. A variable is said to be independent when its levels are established by the researcher before the research begins and are thus independent of anything that happens during the experiment. It is the presumed cause of the observed change in the dependent variable. It is often referred to as a predictor variable. This is because it is the variable that is being manipulated by the researcher. On the other hand, the dependent variable is the one that we want to measure as it was influenced by the independent variable. It is sometimes called the criterion variable because it is the one the researcher wants to explain. For example, in a study investigating the factors that affect the consumption of popcorn by teenagers, some variables that might be considered includes level of consumption of popcorn, sex, amount of income available, age, etc. If you study these variables carefully, you will see that there is one variable that will always contrast against the others. For example, we are saying, let us see if males consume more popcorn than females. In this case, we are studying whether sex affects level of consumption of popcorn. Take now the case of available income. Here we are looking at whether teenagers with more money in their pocket buy more popcorn. Therefore, we are studying whether available income affects level of consumption of popcorn. Similarly, all the other variables we have listed are being studied in relation to one variable, level of consumption of popcorn. This one variable is called the dependent variable. All the other variables are called independent variables. Each independent variable will be studied to see if it has an effect on the dependable variable. Other types of variables include the extraneous variable. This is another type of variable that influences the dependent variable exactly the same way as the independent variable, but they are variables that the researcher did not put into consideration at the beginning of the research. They are unintended independent variables. They are also called confounding or concomitant variables. Extraneous variables are like weed which the farmer noticed in his cassava farm. Summary. In this study, we have learned that a variable is something that can be changed, such as such as a characteristic of value. Variables can be measured in a quantitative form or in a qualitative form. There are two major types of variables that are important in any research: independent and dependent variables. The independent variable is the variable that an experimenter manipulates in a study. It's also called the predictor variable, while the dependent variable, also called the criterion variable, is the one that we want to measure as it was influenced by the independent variable. The extraneous variable is the unintended variable that affects the dependent variable. It is also called confounding or concomitant variable. Study on assertiveness influenced by ethnicity, age, and sex. This is the end of chapter 4. Thanks for listening.